What is going on, everybody? It is Dylan with DFS, bringing you a brand new video. Today's video going over the very ugly, low-scoring, totaled Thursday night showdown on Amazon. Amazon, unfortunately, getting a on paper very ugly, bad game. It still might be that way when the game pans out. A lot of injuries on on one side. Waiting on one, maybe two injuries on the Pittsburgh side. We already know Ramondre's out. The only other, I guess, key injury we're looking at is Najee. There's some other injuries with Devontae Parker, Juju. It's a lot. It's a lot. So let's get into it. I don't have George Pickens in anything. I don't like him, but I don't hate him. I think he gets fantasy points. It's just how many points he gets to his number. Deontay Johnson, I like on both sides. He saw the most targets when Trubisky came in last game. Better numbers versus man than Pickens, and he's tied with Pickens with 7 red zone targets. They kind of lead. It's not a high number, so it's not a key number for the red zone. It's more down the field. Looking at Warren, Nahaji if he's in. So I do like Deontay Johnson though. Ezekiel Elliott, I like on both sides too, especially on FanDuel. The pricing on FanDuel is going to be interesting, just because there's no high price player. So I think ownership is going to kind of be all over the place. He will probably get all of the red zone carries in this game. New England has a top 10 PFF run block advantage. Pittsburgh giving up 4.3 yards per carry and 121 yards per game. Zeke probably see a target or two in the backfield. They're not going to primarily use him in that role, but look for Zeke to get a majority of the workload. And mind you, he was questionable going into this game too, so it's not like he's fully healthy. So that is something else to keep in mind. Mitch Trubisky, especially on DraftKings, is a like for me. On FanDuel, he is 15K, so it's still not a crazy high price, though. I don't think 15 on FanDuel is crazy with the pricing on other players in this game. I don't love him on this slate. Like, if it was any other, game where you had a lot of other big names, I wouldn't like Trubisky at all. But with this, where there's so much uncertainty, so much bad football played on New England side, Trubisky might be a top 5 scorer tonight just on that alone. It's a huge matchup advantage for the Pittsburgh wide receivers and tight ends today. It's not a big one for the running backs. So if Trubisky's got to throw, at least he's got that going for him. Advantages to all wide receivers and Pat Freiermuth. So Bailey Zappi, I have as a fade tonight. And when I say fade, I don't mean I'm going to have zero ownership if I'm doing 150s. It means I'm going to have less than the field. So don't like Bailey Zappi tonight. Just didn't look good when he got in. He had spurts last year when he got some playing time, but then he went right back to not playing well at all. So Pittsburgh's not really a defense to kind of have a Browning game against. So Bailey Zappi, first price, I just have as a fade. Najee, we're watching the injury report there. I'm not playing him on FanDuel. DraftKings is different, but I'd rather play Jalen Warren if Najee is in on FanDuel. But if Najee's out, expect Jalen Warren to get a majority of the workload tonight. I would expect McFarland to be the guy that gets the RB2 work, but Jalen Warren will probably get a majority work, and that's in the receiving game and the run game. So it's not a good matchup for him, running wise, receiving wise either. Like it's not great, but in a slate like this, you want to get a guy that's going to get volume. So Jalen Warren is definitely a like. Pat Freiermuth, another like for me, especially on FanDuel. DraftKings, I don't love the pricing there at 7,400. I'm wanting to stack that top heavy, and then if I'm getting a mid-price player like Jalen Warren's there, Pittsburgh's defense is right below him. But on FanDuel, he's cheaper, right? He's 9,500, so he's cheaper than both those options. So it makes it a lot easier. He's got a top 10 PFF, top top 10 PFF tight end advantage. 6 red zone targets, which isn't a lot, right? It's not a lot compared to the rest of the NFL. But when Pickens and Johnson are both tied leading the team with 7, 6 isn't that bad with the amount of time he missed. Second most targets with Trubisky as quarterback. So looking at Freiermuth, looking at Deontay Johnson to get those targets. Steelers defense, like I said, I would rather play Steelers defense on DraftKings. On FanDuel, that's your decision if you want to play one or both or neither. But at least the pricing is a lot more reasonable. Freiermuth is cheaper than the Steelers defense, which makes sense. And the Steelers, $6,600 is a very high price for a defense. Very high price. Regardless of it being Showdown, it's still a high price. But 34 sacks on the season, 4th highest turnover percentage. New England is top 10 so far in the league in most turnovers. So look for the Steelers defense to be one that shines. Malik Cunningham, I have as a value on FanDuel. On DraftKings, I don't, right? So there's a shot Malik Cunningham doesn't see a single snap, or if he's healthy tonight. But if active, not healthy, he's healthy. But this could be a game where the Patriots are done. There are no playoffs. There's nothing. This could be a game where they just let Malik Cunningham get a few snaps, see if he gets some momentum going. If he doesn't, he doesn't. But they talked about him a lot in the offseason, in the beginning of the season. Hadn't used him in a primetime game, national television. This could be a game where they get him in for a few snaps. So I don't want any almost minimal exposure on DraftKings, but a FanDuel at 5,000, right? He's the min. He's not going to hurt you if you get some type of exposure to him. Devontae Parker, we're watching the injury status of him. He's another name. If he is healthy, he is probably going to lead the team in targets. Definitely not the league. Now this is an odd one. I usually always have kickers as a like. I have them as a fade tonight. Both kickers are in the bottom half of the league in kicking points. Both teams do not move the ball down the field efficiently. The red zone defenses are good, so I mean that's a positive. Both defenses are in the top half of red zone percentage, so meaning teams don't score in the red zone a lot when they get down there. So I just don't think it's worth getting kickers on this slate. Hunter Henry on DraftKings, I don't have as a like. On FanDuel, I do because of his price point. So you look at other prices around here. Juju's higher. Both kickers are higher. Both defenses are higher. Freiermuth's higher. Like Tyquan Thornton's $500 cheaper. Robinson's the same price. Hunter Henry's very good price to get exposure to on FanDuel. On DraftKings, I just think he's too expensive on this slate and with his work. Now, he does have a top 10 PFF tight end advantage. There's a lot of injuries to the Patriots receivers. Regardless of Devontae Parker and Juju being active, they're still not going to be 100%. But the Steelers are giving up 62 receptions to tight ends. So Hunter Henry, Mike Gesicki are two guys I'm looking at tonight, especially on FanDuel. Patriots defense, only one game over 3 sacks, 4th lowest turnover rate, so they're not getting turnovers. Granted, it's Trubisky, prime time. They blitz top 5 in the league, so this could be a game where they do it. And I know there's going to be a decent amount of Patriots exposure. I just like the Pittsburgh wide receiver tight end advantage too much. Plus, Trubisky's got some rushing upside, so could see him get out of the pocket with that heavy blitz. Demario Douglas, you already know, is out. Juju, the next guy, if active, he's a like. He's going to see the least amount of Porter Jr., I would assume. He's going to see the least amount of Porter Jr. just based off of where they lined up. And he's got the best numbers out of all active wide receivers versus man on New England, so I like him there. Both sides, too. Both sides, I think he's fairly priced and has 10-point upside in this game. 4 for 60, 6 for 40, something like that. Tyquan Thornton, I have as a value on both sides. Usually I don't do values above 3K, but on this slate, there's a lot of value, right? Patriots wide receivers banged up, right? Stevenson's out as well, so he could be used in the Deebo Samuel role, and that doesn't mean he's going to put up numbers like Deebo, it means that he potentially could be used in a role. We saw it last week with a 39-yard rush. We've seen some attempts at a deep throw. Hasn't been pretty, but attempts at a deep throw, and that's pretty much been his only volume. So in a slate like this, getting some speed could be good for New England. Obviously, Zeke isn't what Zeke once was. Even Juju, Devontae Parker, they're not speedy wide receivers. So Tyquan Thornton could see some volume. I like him for tonight. Ty Montgomery we're watching. Could see some work at the running back position, but we'll talk about who else a little more than likely. Mike Gesicki, I mentioned I like New England tight ends tonight. He's a value on FanDuel, don't get me wrong, but I think he's more of a value on DraftKings than FanDuel. He's only $1,200, so he's $4,000 less than Hunter Henry. I would imagine they get him in some more snaps tonight with the injuries and banged up wide receiver room. I would assume Gesicki gets a few more snaps, maybe one more target than he usually does, which is very low. But I think if you want to play a Patriots tight end on DraftKings, I'd lean Gesicki over Hunter Henry for the price. But on FanDuel, I think Hunter Henry is definitely fine for the $1,500 more difference there. Kayshon Boutte out as well. Anthony McFarland I mentioned on both sides. I don't have him as a value yet, but as soon as we get word on Najee, if Najee's out, McFarland then is a value on both sides. I would imagine he's the guy that gets the RB2 work. We've seen it in the past. It's not going to be good regardless, but at his price point, $400 allows some. And then JaMychal Hasty, I think, is a great value tonight, honestly. We already know Stevenson is out. That is confirmed. It's a good, not great, not amazing, but good running back advantage tonight for New England running backs. Zeke's been banged up this week. We've seen limited practices. I would assume he gets the RB2 roles. Like I said, there's a scenario where Malik Cunningham gets some snaps. We know Malik Cunningham's going to run the ball if that's the case. There's a scenario where Tyquan Thornton gets some running back work as well with his speed. But I would imagine JaMychal Hasty is their RB2, not Kevin Harris. So JaMychal Hasty is a value for me tonight. So that is it. If you guys want the spreadsheet and all my spreadsheets that are offered throughout the week with all the player roles for the main slate, click the link to our Discord. We have a very cheap subscription package, and this is just one of the things offered. So if you guys did enjoy it, please leave a like and subscribe. And I will see you guys in the next one.